Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Candice Birmingham, and joining me is my co host, Jessica McBride. And we're up to episode 4, which is pretty exciting. I think it is because we didn't know if we'd get past episode 1. But here
Not
we
with my
are.
attention span.
Um, exactly, and mine. And so, just for anyone who's not aware, Jess is in Canada and I'm in Australia. So far, it's always been my mornings, your nights. I haven't really given you the opportunity to.
Honestly, it works better for me. Like when I look at the reverse times, it's worse. So I'm good.
Okay, good. That works. So Jess has usually got her cup of wine, a glass of wine, and I've got my cup of coffee. So we're good to go. But what I thought we would talk about today is future proofing your career. So this week end just been, I was in Melbourne for some incredible events. So we had a partner event with a recruitment company where we had a open table discussing future proofing your career. Then we had AOP, which is the Australian Institute of Office Professionals, celebrating 60 years of service to the admin profession in Australia, which is just so cool to have an institution that's been around for that long and that's still, fighting the good fight to make sure that we have all that we need for our profession. Um, then I met up with the Sorelli girls, who are just beautiful human beings. But we went and sat in a rooftop bar in Melbourne and overlooked the lights, and it was just incredible. And then on Sunday, I literally walked my legs off with a lady named Suzanne Rowe from Board Support Services, and we just literally shopped and talked about everything under the sun. So my cup is full, and I remember now why it is that we do this, because being surrounded by so many admins on the weekend, it was just beautiful, and I feel really rejuvenated and happy to dive back into this. But with the dinner that we had about future proofing your career, there were so many cool things that were brought up. So I thought we could talk through that. And with Jessica being the tech savvy assistant, I thought I could give some like high level things that we were talking about and get her views on it as well, being a bit more tech than I am. But we'll jump right in and just say, the first that was on my list is about being an early adopter. And I would say you are the living proof of that. As soon as ChatGPT came out, you were like, bam, I'm on this. I want this. This is going to make my life easier. I want to learn all about it. So I'm just going to say a couple of high level topics that I think if you can touch on, which is embracing early adoption, testing and providing feedback, and familiarizing yourself with AI platforms.
All right, let's start from the top because I'll need to be reminded what
Yeah.
these
So
are.
embracing early
Um,
adoption for future proofing your career. And we have touched on this.
yeah, I think that if for me, like to do that, the way that I do stay on top of things is being really like, spending a bit of time every day on social media. And I know that's kind of the opposite of what we're supposed to do, but I think that it's really important to be using TikTok because it is really where people are spending their time and resources to educate others. It just really seems like the thought leaders that are really like leading the way in every industry like are on TikTok in some way, shape, or form. And that's really what introduced me to ChatGPT. It's really like how I stay kind of cutting edge on a lot of different areas. Like it's how I can find like really good restaurants. It's how I can, know what's going on in other cities. So I think that it's actually very, very relevant to your career to almost be like a social media manager in some ways of like finding what's going on trend wise and kind of keeping up and spending a little bit of time to invest in that. Um, and I also believe that spending time within like your network and your community is a really great way to constantly be staying up on other people's insights and finding out what kind of information they know. I even
Yep.
find like utilizing LinkedIn and you know, I think there's this idea with LinkedIn where like you should only like connect with somebody that you know like really, really well personally. And I know that like it took me a long time to like want to connect with other people, but really what like the reward and the beauty and relevance of LinkedIn is being introduced to posts in your feed that you wouldn't normally see because of a person that you've connected to. Um, that is a really great way to stay on top of like what's happening within like your community, what's happening within your network, what's happening within technology, is finding people that you can follow because like now you can actually just follow somebody. You don't have to even connect with them. Like you could just follow to like stay up with their posts. And they've implemented some more like creator type features. So it has just that ability to like kind of promote different things. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's also like where thought leaders are going to be in the industry, and there's a lot of reward that comes from just being able to see like their different like insights that they're kind of posting about.
Yeah, and I
And
mean, obviously, we follow a bunch of admin people as well, which have master classes and things like that. Like, do you want to just run through some of the master classes that you've been doing and like the speeches you've been given? Like, you did one with the base recently. You,
yeah, there's been a few. Yeah, I was on. I don't. Hopefully, by the time this is out, the base podcast is out. And we were discussing kind of like the future of where I see admin going, and just the different ways that like you can use technology to elevate your career. I did a an Eventbrite like online event
yeah,
that I do like occasionally where anybody can kind of join this as professional development. I don't even know what to call it, if it's like a webinar, a presentation, a master class, I don't know. But basically I get on there and I talk about ChatGPT and a bunch of other technologies and show different ways that admins have been implementing these into their workflows. Um, and yeah, there's so many different places that offer just really cool programming that like was not available pre-pandemic. The pandemic really changed the way that we are able to consume content, and it's going to continue to expand that way. The trend is very much going towards video. So
yeah.
I think that you're especially going to see a lot more people utilizing video and getting out there and putting their content out there for all of us to like see and learn from. And there is so much free or very low cost resources that are available. It's really like a cool time to be learning.
I also saw a stat somewhere, probably social media, where people are watching content on mute. So they, if they're still in a situation where they can't have the sound on, like they're watching it on mute. So it's the importance of making sure that it's still engageable or having the text because
The closed
it's all
captioning,
about
yeah.
visual. It's all about watching the content. It's not necessarily
Well,
about the messaging anymore.
it's a close.
Like
I mean, closed captioning is
audio. Yeah.
yeah, is it like an accessibility thing too, and that like there are people who are visually impaired that still, or that still are using TikTok as well as consuming that content. So, um, it is great to have like the closed captioning on, and then you can also have it like read out the text to make it even more accessible. But yeah, so I really, if I think that if you look at using social media as a way to stay relevant and almost as what the news and newspapers used to be, it's a good tool.
Yeah.
It, you have to be careful with social media. You have to be careful like with the world that you construct. I don't follow people that make me like. Actually, I saw a quote the other day that was, "I don't follow people that I'm not rooting for," and I thought that was
Mhm.
a really good way to think about like the people that you're following on social media to keep it where it's like still like a very like positive space. Is like I am rooting for the people that I'm the content creators that I support. So um that's my side rant about social media usage. But I just know it's like it's a very careful thing. Like people, you're like, I don't want to spend all that time on social media, and I genuinely will carve out time in my calendar for like social media or also like community engagement, so that
Yep.
like I am like finding time to learn from my peers and to get back to my peers and
Yeah.
interact in different ways because
Which
it
was
is
gonna
such
be
an
my
important part.
yeah, that's gonna be my next one is test and provide feedback. So trial this tech and then um, for instance, ChatGPT, and share your experience with your community, and talk about the feedback that you're given. So a lot of the feedback you've been given that I've watched is they're like, "Oh, I'm a bit scared of this technology, or I don't want to look stupid," or and then that's where you're like, "Well, I've got a guide." So literally, you can follow this guide. Like you don't have to feel like you're going in here without the the tools to know how to use this tech, or if you're going to feel like you're going to experience it for the first time, you've got something to go with. Like you're empowered to do that. So totally agree with that. And then the next point I had here was familiarize yourself with the AI platforms, and I think a big part of that is what you just said. Is an easy way of doing that is watching them on social media content to consume, but also
Yeah.
um you test you yourself test all these platforms and play with them, and then give reviews about it and say, oh, I've implemented this, or this wasn't great for me, or you know that kind of feedback that I think is super helpful for others as well, who obviously come to podcasts like this to hear your point of view and your experience with tech, because you give a really good balanced and fair way of, look, it's not easy, or it is easy. It's not, you don't feel dumb listening about technology through you're like, no, I found it hard, or it was super easy. Here's some tip points. So
Yeah, I actually feel like lately, like I almost want to show some of the trial and errors that I have, because like it bothers me when I see content that's been so highly edited that it makes it feel like everything's so easy, and it's just like, and sometimes I find that content creators like misrepresent capabilities of products too, where it's like I will try and replicate what they did, and then it turns out like that's actually not available to like the general public or things like that. So I was trying to be transparent about like which ones are available and which ones aren't.
yep.
But it is, yeah, I don't know, it's weird. What else was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Thing.
Well, the next
I
one I
bet
was
it was
going
a
to say
good
is
one though.
upskilling and continuous learning. So you do this, and you talk about this as well, about like you did an AI course on the weekend, yeah?
Yeah, I just started it today. I always talk about Rachel Woods from the AI Exchange, and she's a data scientist, like former Facebook data scientist that has gone on to create her own company. And her thing is, she educates us on like this course is like on prompt engineering, and it's going deeper. So like there's a whole other platform called the OpenAI Playground, and it is the bare bones version of GPT. So it's kind of like what you can use like on your own server, your own API, and like set up like your own private one. So it's learning how to use that to create prompts and to better understand how to write like a really good prompt. And if I can understand better how to write a really good prompt, I can understand better how to create really good automations. So it was good. Like I still have to do my homework. It feels weird. I didn't finish university, and I always struggled in school. Like I can't even imagine going back to school. There's been a lot of times in my life where I've thought like, should I go back to school and finish my degree? But like it just feels so boring, and like the idea of like sitting through like all of those classes just like does not appeal to me at all. So I'm always like very shied away like from going back to school. So even like doing this course is just like very interesting to have like homework. Like I'm not
Yep.
responsible enough for homework. Um, and it's like supposed to be like peer reviewed. I'm like, excuse me, I don't want feedback ever. I don't. That's the worst. So this is super nerve wracking for me, but I think that'll be really good, and I think that it'll be so great for me when I get an understanding of that and how it works to be able to teach it, to other admins in terms of like, okay, and this is actually how we can use it to do other tasks and create better automations. Because so much of that is still super foreign to me. And it's like, every day trying to like learn a little bit more. And when it comes to the idea of, when we're talking about upskilling and how do you consistently upskill and like keep like leveling up is get comfortable being uncomfortable because so many of us just like sit in this like zone of comfort of like I just do my job and this is what the expectations are of me and I don't do anything outside of that basically. And it's so good to just push yourself outside of it a little bit. And I think that AI is a really cool one because like I said, it is really relevant right now. Everybody's talking about it and it can do a lot for your career if you're able to like figure out these like little life hacks. And one of the projects that we're doing is a prompt library. And this is something that like I've been wanting to start anyway because I think that basically the ChatGPT for Executive Assistants guide that I wrote, like I think would I could just return basically into like an actual prompt library. And I think that I'm glad to finally have that motivation. But it'll be a good project too. I think that if you are an executive assistant or you're somebody, um, running kind of the operations within your organization in any kind of admin way, is creating a prompt library for your organization where you're listening to the problems that people are having and you're able to use a certain, method of thinking to understand how to create an automation and you can then, record it in the prompt library and it's this living documentation of here's how we created this prompt to create this report and that's a lot easier than trying to teach somebody how to run the report.
Hmm.
So there's just so many different use cases that you could really begin to like dig into the more you understand AI. And there's just a lot really cool classes out there now.
Yep.
Might like mine.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean by, you walk the talk when you're embracing this new technology, and this is, part of the embracing change and flexibility. Like, but the beauty of what you're doing is by your learnings, you're then transferring it into palatable bits that admins can take use out of. So the scope you've got such a bigger scope in it, but you're saying, okay, this is what I can take and give to the admin community, and this will make their life so much easier. And then, I'm sure there's plenty that works with trying to set up a business and things like that that maybe in the future you can use towards helping people that might want to start their own business. Like, you know,
Yeah,
in my personal opinion, admins are already on the path to entrepreneurism. They just don't know it. That was something we discussed as well. But I think you're on the money there when you were saying, focus on being a solution orientated problem solver through tech as well. So don't be afraid of tech, seek opportunities for growth, things like that. But um, I want to touch on the other one is embracing generous networking. So I would say that you and I are really good at this. We're very open to reach out, talk to us, ask us questions. We get involved in chats in all sorts of groups. Like we aren't like sitting on the sides, flogging our book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It's a new song. Um, we are actually like giving our feedback, giving our opinions. Hey, this helped me, this helped this, or talk to this person, or are you following this? Like we're very engaged in our network and we're generous in giving back in our network as well. Wherever we can offer value or help, we do. And I think that's something which will future proof you as well, future proof your career as well as networking one online because it's so easy to do. You just tap in, or as you said with social media, there's Facebook, there's Threads, there's this, there's that. People can easily contact you. You can give a quick answer back, but also networking. Like I know you've been to a few networking events back in Toronto last month as well, and giving up your time and going and actually meeting with people, like having these in-person events in Melbourne over the weekend has just like refilled my cup and reinvigorated me, as I said, about how much I love this industry and how many legends are in it, and hearing their advice and hearing what they're doing and hearing what they're, you know how they're using tech, how they're changing their offices, how some of them are, everything. Like it was just such a good open conversation. I think you don't get that in the small spurts, which are just questions on social media. So when you're in a group, they can actually talk to you one on one, and then that leads to this, and then you're like, oh yeah, I did that, or I spoke to Kerry over here, and she was this. Let's bring her in. Like I think networking is a huge part of future proofing your career. um, in also finding about opportunities as well. Like the amount of people that I have put forward for speaking gigs, and they're not in the room. Like I'm like, someone will say, "Oh, we need a speaking gig for this," and I'll be like, "Oh, I'll connect you with." Recently I connected someone in Australia for an Australian gig, and they were just like, "Oh, did you recommend me for this?" I'm like, "Yep." Like, you're on my front of mind. That's because we've been in touch, we've networked. They said a topic that made me, and it was about moving on from being an EA. And this lady, her name's Ruth Kyler, from Hoxton Hyde, and she helps admins that want to step out and move on from being an EA, so be it project management, be it whatever. That's what she coaches with. And so, yeah, I suggested her because I think that's such an important topic as well. As while we're discussing what we're doing now in future proofing our career, some people don't want to stay in admin, and that's okay. Like, you've moved on, I've moved on, we've stayed in admin, but we've moved out of the traditional roles.
Yeah.
And I think networking has a big play with that, especially as we were just saying before this with sponsorship opportunities and things like that. Like, you don't get these opportunities sitting in your bedroom.
No. You have to make your own. You really do. I got very comfortable with just people not responding to me or, saying no very quickly. And I that and like earlier in my career, like I think that it's something that that's like a building block that I'd gotten to by the time that like I became like doing tech savvy assistant. Um, I've had so many different roles, I guess that like I said, I just got comfortable with people kind of being mean to me or saying no or just ignoring me. And when I was kind of thrust into building my business, it was just like, well, I can't sit and wait for people to reach out to me. I need to start reaching out to them. But actually, I guess for the record, I did get really lucky and that a lot of people did reach out to me and people were willing to show their support. But I think that there's something about people who are naturally generous with our time, that energy does come back to us. Is that like people are inclined to continue to like speak your name if you are someone who is speaking their name. If you are someone who is generous and is willing to like meet and like have like these talks with people, they're going to be keen to speak your name again. And I know what that feels like because it's been happening to me a bit lately where like people just have been like coming out of the woodwork and be like, oh, like I was recommending you here or we're talking about you there. And like that's crazy. Um, but if you are, I don't want to be like, if you're a good person, like good things happen to you, but like it really does consistently like I always just kind of like assume the best in people and like that I want to help them. Like I see somebody and they are in distress or like like those posts like on LinkedIn where when people like post about like hey like I've been having a rough go like my immediately thought is like what could I do? Like is there anything that I could do to support them? I need to cough so like hopefully we can cut this part out but
Not in the
sorry
video. Everybody gets to watch warts and all. You get to see our double
uh,
chins.
but yeah it's I think that you should just try and be a good person. And I think that will eventually like, come back to you in terms of like networking. And don't like discount the value of your opinion because so many of us do, where it's like, I couldn't possibly have anything to say to this person, or like, I couldn't, like, I probably shouldn't weigh in on this, or, we're always like second guessing ourselves. And just stop. Like, there are so many people out there who do not second guess themselves and they're just spewing nonsense. And I promise you that, like, you're smarter than you believe you are. You really have some good opinions. And people like talking too. Like, people love to talk about themselves. It's so if you can learn like a few basic, just like, this is how I have conversations, it gets easier. I remember like at the first time I got like laid off from a job going to like some networking events and I was just kind of like can like put on a show like when I need to. And just like going in and just like super selling yourself, and like you just really have to like what's the phrase? Don't be afraid of being cringe. It's you know, I'm not afraid to be seen trying is something that I heard somebody say once, where it's like who cares like what people think, if they think that like I'm trying too hard or if I'm cringe or whatever, but like you just kind of go in with this like feeling of like let me just like sell the best version of myself, and let me like be a nice person and chit chat, and you know, you just kind of have to as someone who's really socially anxious, I just kind of have to put on a show to do it, but it pays off, and like people,
Yep.
like I said, networking is it used to be really intimidating for me, and I mean even like public speaking was really intimidating as well, and just kind of getting comfortable with the idea because of being seen, of being heard, and knowing that that meant that people were going to be critiquing my thoughts and my opinions. Okay, something that we're gonna go, I want to derail a little bit. Um, okay, so I was just asked to speak at an APC event in Las Vegas, and I'm really, really excited and thrilled about this. But I keep going back to is I went to an AP conference last year, and after the conference, a it was that evening. A group of women, I'm sitting around with them, and they are talking about the speaker, and they start going in on her, and they're like, she thought she was really special, didn't she? And I didn't say anything, and I wish that I didn't speak up at the time. Like I just kind of like was uncomfortable, and like ordered my like got my food and like left. But it eats at me. It eats at me so deeply, and just because like I know I'm going to get up and give this presentation, and like somebody out there is going to be saying she thinks she's really special, doesn't she? And it is eating at me in the worst way of imposter syndrome, of just like from someone who like I really try to like be like I don't care what people think, and I like who I am at the end of the day. It is so ingrained in me as a woman that I shouldn't feel special, that I shouldn't think that like I'm great. Um, and I just watched the Barbie movie, and there's the scene where they're all like they're getting like a Nobel Prize, and they're getting these like accolades, and like they're like, here's your Nobel Prize, and she's like, thank you, I worked really hard for this, and it's like, thank you, like I did a lot of work to do this, and it was just like, oh my God, if only like that was the energy that like we could just all like have, and like it's been beaten out, not beaten out of us, but like it's been like crushed out of us by society. um, and God, yeah, it's really the thing that like really is like freaking me out about doing this like, public speaking situation, is just like knowing that somewhere out there there's this like catty mean woman who is gonna, be saying that I think that I'm really special. Um,
I
and
think
gotta get
there's
over it.
of course, and there's a few points to make on this. I haven't seen the Barbie movie. I'm the only person in the world, I think. But I've heard of the monologue that one of the girls did, and I was like, yes, because and I might put in the show notes of what we're talking about, but it. We are conditioned as women, like be nice but not too nice, be this but not too this, be strong but not too like. There is so many conditions on what you can do to be liked as a woman. Um,
Yeah.
but I think, and this brings me to my last point that I had on my notes is show kindness to others. Like, look, I get that we don't gel with everyone. I don't gel with everyone. And I know that a lot of people don't gel with me. I'm an alpha female. So a lot of people don't like alphas. They find them intimidating or too much or but other people find them as leaders. Like it depends where you are in your story and where you're what you put on the leaderboard of things that you like in people. And I'm a Taurus as well. So for people that are quite spiritual, I am as loyal as they get. Like if you are one of my people, you are one of my people forever, and I will back you and I will protect you. I am as loyal as they come. And then I also unfortunately have the other side where I love food. Um, but basically AI lacks the capacity for empathy and human connection. So, just bringing it back to future proofing your career, it's you as a human that is going to be the one that, so showing kindness to others is something AI can't do. So
No.
by not saying asshole comments like that. But look, I have recently been at a thing where I watched a speaker and I didn't necessarily think she thinks she's all that, but I went, if I was still an executive assistant and I paid for this, I would have got nothing out of your session.
Oh,
It's
I've had
because I didn't,
thoughts. Yeah,
but
I mean, like I've
it's a
definitely had
way, like,
thoughts.
did the speaker act like there's definitely, I'm not gonna say names, but there's definitely some very well known speakers in this industry where I'm just like, "Oh, you do think you're all that. You do, like, you're not even afraid to say it. You clearly think that you are eating a bit. You're flogging your book. You know, they're clearly like, there is no other way than my way. And it's just like, that does not align with me at all because that was your career and how you did it then. The way that people are learning now and the way that people are doing work now is different. It's not the way that it used to be, and people need to get their head around that and learn that people are going to have to future proof your career. You have to change. You have to change as the admin because the world changed. As you said, once the pandemic hit, the world of work changed.
Yeah,
So if
it'll
you
never be
are
the same.
trying to live your best life from pre-pandemic, good luck to you. You need to change. And ending on the point of showing kindness to others is, as we're facing an ongoing AI revolution, we have to be motivated to cultivate a workplace of kindness and empathy because that's your key point as a human, bringing that in not only to your job but to this profession. So I think you were on the money. That not everyone's going to like you as a speaker. Not everyone's going to like this podcast. They're going to be like, oh, they're so salty, or they're so this, like, yeah, we might not
Am
be your cup of tea.
marinated.
But that's okay. Don't listen to us. There's plenty of other ones where you might find better value in it. But a lot of people will have a giggle with us, and that's the reason why we did this. Is we want to impart some knowledge. And we've said from day dot, we're not experts. We're just giving real life examples of what we've been doing in our life and our careers. And if you get some value on it, good for you. But I think, yeah, I think it's so amazing that last year you were unemployed and this year you have your own business. You're being asked to speak in Vegas. Like, this is a
Yeah.
huge deal. But your head immediately goes to, what if people don't like me? Like, I'm still stuck on the fact that you've been asked to speak in Vegas. Like, I'm so proud of you, and you should be
Thank
so proud
you.
of you, and you should be
I
focusing on
am.
that.
It's just I think that's like that's probably what just like the one thing that like eats at me is just like
Yeah.
just I don't know, just if you're going to ABC in Vegas, be nice to me. I'm nervous.
And
Scared.
I'm sure they will. But also, I think, as we said, like, there's going to be speakers where you're going to be watching them pre or post your session. You're going to be like, yeah, that didn't gel with me. Like, it's
I just don't say it out loud.
true. And there are some people, like, what I was saying on that dinner the other night, I was saying, I was in a chat group and I was trying to help someone. I think I told you about this. I said, she wanted to know how to structure an email about being kind, but also saying, like, please book an appointment. And so I said, hey, I've just run this through ChatGPT. Here's the result. And it got a bunch of like nice, clicks, likes. Oh, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And this one salty woman wrote back, um, oh, that's very wordy. And I said, well, you can adjust it to how you would like it, or you can even ask ChatGPT to summarize it for you and make it smaller. Like, my point is, try using this technology. And then she wrote back, obviously, in capitals. And I just wrote back, you're very salty, aren't you? Have a nice day. Like, I just won't engage in people like that.
People on the internet can be so mean. Oh my God. I learned to be kind via the internet, so it's always like very shocking that
But look, you're gonna do amazing at this. There's so many more opportunities that are coming up that we can't talk about yet because they're not contractual. But Jess is going to be, and the reason why people are booking you, Jess, is that you are kind to others. You are, so you don't make people feel dumb. And we are new to this AI and this new tech, and the way that you explain it and make it so user friendly, and you're kindness towards, I get it, this is new, this is a bit scary. I also have some learning difficulties with this, or I'm trying to, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet, but you're designing a program for people with.
Oh yes. Oh, so while it's not ink on paper yet, I am partnering with um she created a company called Neurotalent Consulting. She is autistic, and the focus is how do we help people with autism get placed into jobs that are going to support them? How do companies support these people? And I say these people, like, I believe that I'm autistic, like it's my people. Neurodivergence in the workplace in general, and so this is kind of the umbrella of neurodivergence as a whole. Um, but we're going to be doing a program talking about how you can accommodate yourself in the workplace better if you are someone who is neurodivergent, and then where I'm going to do a portion on technology that we can use to accommodate ourselves as well. So I think it's going to be really cool. I've certainly never seen like anything like it offered before, so hopefully
Agreed.
it goes
Yep.
really well.
I'm so, yeah, excited about that. And that's something that we'll be pushing on M&M News, because there's so many more people that are now being tested. And it doesn't mean they weren't neurodivergent and they weren't autistic or they didn't have ADHD before they were tested.
No,
It just means a
we've just
lot
been
more
suffering.
people. Yeah. It's like food intolerance, right? For the longest time, no one knew that they had food intolerances. They were like, I just constantly had a gut ache. Like, and
Yep.
then they find out they're dairy intolerant, and as soon as they cut that out of their diary, their food, they're living their best life. Like, that's the thing with education as well. But the my point being, not being made to feel dumb about it. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that you're going to create this and not and people don't have to scour the internet and be like, no one cares that I can't learn the same way that other people can learn. And being able to do it in a tone and a voice and have a presence as someone who's a thought leader in this space of technology and helping admins with it. The fact that you're going to create a space is, I commend you so much, and I can't wait to support you with it all the way. So excited for it.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, well, we hope this has inspired and motivated our listeners to contemplate how to be ready for the ongoing AI revolution, but also just for being a decent human being in this profession.
Yeah.
And by being proactive and adaptable, you can confidently face the future of work where AI and humans work together synergetically. Good word there. To create a more efficient and innovative workplace. So that was my key kind of ending sentence where in the chat that I was doing, and I just think, yeah, by reiterating what you said, you got this. No matter what, you got this. You're smarter than you think you are. You're more adaptable to these things than you think. Just try. Just trial it. You don't have to
Yeah.
feel like you're not smart enough. And I think it was last episode or the episode before where you were just saying, people make this look so much harder than it really is. But once you actually go in there and trial it yourself, you'll see you do have the brains for it. You do have the competence for it. So trust in yourself and try things. Just go give it a try. And if you're scared,
100.
go to the tech savvy assistant, and you'll see the guide there. Just follow the guide. Just have your little buddy next to you where you can just follow it until you find your confidence. That's why I just created it. Like, it's a guide for you. Go and trial it. So I think that's about it on future proofing your career. I mean, we could go so much further into it. There's so much more about future proofing your career, but that's our kind of highlights with it. So, anything else on your side, Jess?
Nope. You can end
Perfect.
this week here.
Yes. So again, as we always say, if you think of anything, if you want to reach out to us, Jessica is the tech savvy assistant. You can find her everywhere, all the platforms. I'm Candace Birmingham from the Admin Avenues. Again, I'm also public, so reach out on any of the platforms. We'd be more than happy to help you future proof your career. So thank you so much for tuning in with us. As always, if you would like to send us any ideas, anything, we'll put all our stuff in the show notes as usual. But apart from that, be good, be kind, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.